Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about effect of climate change on a very important island in the Pacific and we can say in the middle of between Pacific and Atlantic Ocean, that is the Panama Island. As a result of climate change, relocation or number of refugees are continuously growing on this island countries. So let us try to understand that how climate change is wreaking havoc on the life of the people on this island. So to give you the brief context of the present issue, recently about 300 families who used to live on an island of Gardi Sugdub, that is a part of Panama's Gunayala province, they have to be relocated, and they have been now relocated to another project or island project called as Nuevo Karti. This Nuevo Karti is basically situated in the neighborhood of Gunayala, which is an autonomous region in the Panama. The region behind this relocation is believed to be, we can say, an outcome of the climate change that is related to the rise of the sea level. Now, Gardi Sugdub, we talk about the island that is in news because of relocation, is home to nearly 1,300 members of the Guna community. Guna community basically are an ethnic community, ethnic tribes living in Panama for a very long period of time. So they are also considered as an indigenous tribe of the Panama itself, and they were settled in autonomous regions of Panama and few villages of the neighboring country of Colombia. Now it is these Guna people who have to be relocated because they do not have any other options as such. So if you try to understand that where is this all going on, so if you take a look at the map here, this is the map of Caribbean Sea. Caribbean Sea is situated somewhere in the North Atlantic, and as you can see on the northern side of or northeastern side of Caribbean Sea, northwestern side of Caribbean Sea, you have United States of America. Here you have the Central America, and this Central America is where you have the country called as Panama is situated. So basically this entire landmass as you see here is an example of what we call in geography as isthmus. Isthmus is basically a narrow strip of land that connects two large land masses. So in this case, Panama connects North America as well as South America. Not only that, Panama also has a canal that connects the Atlantic Ocean with the Pacific Ocean. So as you can see around these Caribbean islands where you have a lot of other islands and some islands of Panama also, it is these areas which is facing the challenge due to rise in the sea level. Now if we talk about this entire sea also, the Caribbean Sea, as per the experts and the recent article published in the journal Science, the level of the rise that is happened in sea level currently averages around 3 to 4 millimeters every year. And global warming, as you know, it is the most challenging problem that the humanity is facing and will have to face in the future also, due to the effect of global warming, that is due to the increase in the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and rising and soaring of global temperature across the entire earth, we can say. It is believed by the scientists that this rate of rise of sea level right now from 3 to 4 millimeter per year will reach somewhere about 1 centimeter, that is 100 millimeters per year or more even by the end of the century. That means in other way, we can also say that the rate of rise of sea level will become almost 30 times greater than what is at present by the end of the year 2100. So houses and streets in Gardi Sugdub, the island that we are discussing about, are flooded by seawater due to the continuous rise of sea level. And even before, the islanders did not want to relocate, did not want to move, because they are not only living in the island but also have what we can say a cultural, ecological and religious connection with the island. So initially they tried to fortify the islands by using several local materials such as rocks, corals and such, but the fortification effort did not yield any kind of result, and the advancing sea continued to encroach upon the island's land masses, rendering the island increasingly unsuitable for leaving no other choice for them but to relocate to some other island area. So that is the overall concern. Now, as we have discussed before also, that the Panama is well known for its Panama Canal. The Panama Canal, as you can see on the map here, is basically connecting the Atlantic Ocean in the east to the Pacific Ocean in the west. It is one of the most important, what we can say, a navigation project that has been undertaken and at the global scale. So completed somewhere in 1914, if we briefly discuss about the canal also, the 50-mile long Panama Canal links the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. Now, it is because of the construction of this canal, the distance between the eastern and western coast of US has reduced by almost 8,000 nautical miles. That means if you try to understand, before this Panama Canal was not there, if a ship has to move, let us say from the New York City to the San Francisco on the western coast of USA, it has to traverse across the entire South American continent, and then via the Pacific Ocean, then it will reach on the San Francisco. Now, due to Panama Canal, it can take this smaller route and just reach here in such a shorter distance and a shorter period of time. And it is due to this region about 12,000 ships pass through the Central American Canal each year. Then basically this canal serves as a connectivity and connecting link between Australia as well as the Europe, also we can say Japan or East Asian countries with the European continent as well. US retains controls of this 10-mile wide canal. It is not very wider canal. The width is only 10 miles, and until the year 2000, when the canal is turned over to the Panamanian government as such. So that is overall about the Panama Canal, the region that we are talking about. Now, if we talk about the impacts of climate change or the rise in sea level, are we observing it on the other islands as well? The answer is obviously yes. Basically, the island countries of the world are collectively clubbed or referred as SIDS, that is a small island developing states. So, located in the Caribbean Sea, the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, and even in South China Sea, they are scattered all over the oceans of the world, and they are facing existential threat due to the rising of the ocean. For example, let us say if we take India. Now we know that India has an island repository, and that is Lakshadweep. Now, due to the rising sea level, let us suppose that Lakshadweep islanders started to face problems and they are not able to live in their own island. In that case, India has an option, or they have option, they can be relocated easily to the mainland of India. But assume a country an island which is a country in itself. Now, if the people start facing such problems, it is quite possible that they'll have a lot of problems in relocating these people due to the lack of space. So that is the major problem, and that is why we're referring it as an existential threat. Particularly vulnerable due to their low elevation and high dependency on marine resources. A lot of these islands are small volcanic islands, coral islands, and that is why they are about 10 meters, 5 meters, 7 meters above the sea level. So any small scale rise of the sea level can render a large area of these islands unfit for settlement and living. And if we talk about at the global scale, apart from this Caribbean region, the most dramatic effect of the rising sea level that we are seeing or observing is in the Pacific Ocean, where you have several island groups such as Tuvalu, Kiribati, as well as Marshall Islands, situated slightly to the east of the Australian coast. It is this region where the rising sea level is believed to render a large area unfit for living in coming 1 or 2 decades also. And all these information that we are discussing is not just on the basis of speculation, rather this entire thing has been researched upon and published by a well-known agency that works under the aegis of United Nations, that is UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And the recent report that it published, it is in this report, it has mentioned about all these concerns and issues. Now, if we try to understand that the impact of the climate change, the rise in sea level, is something that is not only felt on the economy or the movement of people or the problems that people faces, rather it has a human cost associated with this as well. For example, the existential threat to the culture and economies is something that always occurs whenever relocation or displacement of any ethnic or tribal groups occur from their own land. And the Guna people, the people that we are talking about today, people of Panama, are known for their, for example, vibrant molas, which they intricately carve out, intricately weave. So it is a type of a textile that represents both artistic expression as well as cultural identity of the Guna people. So this is an example of this molas that we have discussed. So many experts argue that if they have to relocate, if they have to move from their own region, they will have to adapt to a new environment. And in this new environment, maybe they will not be able to sustain their traditional practices. This can be due to a variety of reasons: the stress of moving, the time taken for adjusting to this new environment, and also the lack of raw material resources which might be required for developing this kind of artifacts. And thus the cultural disruption that is faced by the Guna is a microcosm of what many small island communities around the world are experiencing, and unfortunately increasingly experience as the threat of climate change will loom larger in the coming decades also. So let us try to understand about the major challenges that the coastal community around the entire world faces. Now, this challenge can be categorized into three types. One, as we already are discussing, the rising of sea level, largely as an outcome of global warming. Second is the storm surges, that is largely associated with the strong winds, gust winds that move in the coastal areas, but more precisely because of the effect of cyclones, whether temperate or tropical. And last is the king tides. King tides are the highest of high tides that a particular region experiences. This generally happens, the king tides basically happens when the sun, moon, earth are aligned in the same line, and the combined gravitational force of sun and moon pulls the water away from the earth, causing the water level to rise significantly higher than generally how it rises during the high tide events. And due to these three phenomena, the effects we'll observe is coastal erosion, obviously due to the waves and due to the strength of the waves, salinization of freshwater resources, especially agricultural land, agriculture areas if you have, due to the high tides and due to the movement of the seawater to a greater part of the coastal areas will pollute those and increase the salt deposits. And third, increased vulnerability to extreme weather event is something that also we can expect in the coming future. So these are what we can write as the challenges to coastal community. Now coming to India, as we know that India has a huge and long coastline of more than 7,500 kilometers, and within that you have almost 250 million people living within 50 kilometers of the coast. It consists of 3,600 fishing villages, 12 major ports and 185 minor ports, and about 4,120 square kilometer of mangroves. Also, if you talk about India, the stretches of the coastal areas begins somewhere from Gujarat, then goes all the way up to Kanyakumari in the south, and again from Kanyakumari goes all the way up to West Bengal in the north along the eastern coast. So, taking this into account, recently Indian National Center for Ocean Information Studies, an organization of Government of India, has carried out a coastal vulnerability assessment for the entire Indian coast at the state level. The main reason behind this is to determine the risk and what kind of risk which coast is associated with due to the future sea level rises, and this is based on the physical and geological parameters for the Indian coast. Useful information can be ascertained from this kind of assessment, and for coastal disaster management as well as for building resilient coastal communities, such kind of coastal vulnerability assessment becomes very important, and that is why Indian organization has been involved in doing so. And it is on the basis of this disaster management plans for the coastal areas can be prepared, and also the Government of India will have understanding that in case of any sudden risk, where and from where the people have to be relocated to which of the regions. So that is overall what you can understand about coastal vulnerability. So that is all about this video. I hope you understood about how the climate change and associated risk of rise in sea level can uproot the communities living in a particular area, and they'll have to face severe challenges as we approach toward a deadly future. Thank you very much.